I'm definitely a honeymooner. I don't know if I spoke to you. Remember, I spoke to you earlier. I'm the one with 3 kids. I'm you 30 years ago or 20
There
years
you go.
ago.
There you go, man. Okay.
So I was able to go to the courthouse in my county and pull all the probates. I reverse engineered the site, and I've been pulling probably 10. I mean, I've sent 100 probate letters out just for January alone. So my question is, because I know I'm gonna get that phone call eventually, what does that conversation look like? The last thing I want to do is have a lead on the line and lose credibility.
So probates are a little bit of a different animal. So there's not a ton of leads. They're not thousands, and 100 is actually very respectable. Like I can't get more than 40 or 50 in my county. And when you get the call, you've got to be extremely patient, and you've got to be the best listener you've ever been in your life. So you how many kids you got again? 3?
I have 3. Yeah, 3 boys.
3 boys. So this isn't a good example. So if you had 3 girls and say you had a wife with that, and they sat you down and they wanted to like present you on something, you know you're not getting a word in edgewise, right?
Well, I can say
this
that
is
too
how,
with the boys.
so listen, when my wife and my daughter say, listen, we need to talk to you, like I have to listen, like hyper focus, because I know I'm not getting a word. And number 2 is they're just more advanced in like conversation and communication. So in probates, communication is the most important skill set you can have when it comes to it, because they're going to make the first impression on the phone. They're expecting you to be some sort of sharky scumbag when they call, and they're looking to write you off right in the first 30 seconds. So you have to do the opposite. So you just kill them with kindness, and you let them lead the conversation, and you eventually try to bring it back to the house and their current situation. Some of them will tell you right out, hey, listen, my mom died. It sucks. It's bad. You can't go like, oh my God, I'm so, like you say, listen, my condolences. I know it's hard. Like, don't overdo it, because you don't know them. It's fake. It's not going to be authentic.
Okay.
And let them talk till they wear out. They'll probably ask you some questions about you, and you just got to kind of put them at ease. So you just got to have a conversation with them, because the biggest mistake people make in probates, they try to qualify it like a regular cold call on like a FSBO, and they try to find their motivation off the bat. You already know what their motivation would be, so you don't really have to ask. You just got to see if the house is motivated and if their motivation level is high enough to engage in a deal with you. And so I have long conversations with probates. Why? Because I don't get a lot of calls. On average, we get 3 to 4 calls a month in probates, and we send out a lot more letters than you do. So when I get that call, a lot more. So when I get that call, or my team gets the call, we know it's gold. It's valuable, and if I can find a way to connect with them, and if they're slightly motivated, we'll probably put a deal together. And that's the secret. It's not your typical, hey, what's your motivation? What's the condition? What's your time frame? What's the price? How soon are you looking to ready to move? Just talk. Sometimes the conversations go for an hour. You have to. You don't get enough calls, so you don't have to be cutting people off. Let them talk. 80-20 rule. You do 80% of listening, 20. And towards the end of that phone call, that's when you start to get a little bit of feel if you can move on to the next phone call. How? You got to create intrigue, and they've got to like you. And if you can't do either one of those things, you have no shot on the probate call. That's it. So I never discuss price on the first phone call. Just take the edge off you. You take it off your seller, and you just find out, because if that house is vacant, it's run down, and they live out of state, even if you get a slight discount, you'll do very well.
Okay.
So don't attack price, and understand it's going to take 5 to 6 phone calls to get down to the nitty gritty with them. So you earn their trust. So the first time is you just like, please don't hang up on me, right? And you go, listen, I'm a regular guy. I buy houses in the area. I drove by the house. I saw it. That's why I sent you the letter. And just start letting them talk. And you'll find the more they talk, they'll just qualify themselves. And it's more of a natural conversation. And that's all I do with probates. You got to have, it's got to be very natural. Listen, when you're cold calling and you're doing FSBOs and stuff like, it's a different conversation. Like, you got to get to the point. Probate's complete opposite. You just want to make them feel good, because the truth of the matter is, the more you can get a person talking, the more they're going to open up to you, and the more they're going to put their guard down for you. And they just want to make sure you're not taking advantage of them, and like you're trustworthy. So get through that initial one and just have a long conversation with them. It's not uncommon to have 30-40 minute conversations with them. If you only got 1 or 2 phone calls, why would you rush to get them off the phone? And that's why I tell people, you still got to make so I want to make progress on every phone call, and that's how I do probate. So instead of taking it down in one quick FSBO qualifying call, it might take 5 or 6 connections. The first time they're calling you, you've got to just get them not to hang up with you, and see if we can like dance a little bit. And once you crack a joke or get them to smile, and then once they give you their phone number, now you have permission to call them back. Now it's a wide open dialogue, and you can make progress in your negotiations with them. But just do not run them over in the probate process, and you'll do so much better. And eliminate price in the first call. Because if they go, hey, Tim, how much could you pay me for it? Go, you know what? I don't know. I want to do the best thing I can for you. Can you tell me a little bit about the house? And I'll just go. So now I'm going to walk away from price, which they think that's all you're going to attack them on, and just always go from a helping hand with them. So if you've ever had a death in the family, that's how I look at them. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna treat them just like I would treat my own family if this were to happen. Like, what can I do to make this painless for you? How can I help you out? What's your biggest fear with it? What do you not understand in this process? And then if you don't know the answer, go, listen, I have somebody on my team. Can I call you back tomorrow? I will get you an exact answer for that. And that's it. And once I knew I didn't know everything about probate, I was much more comfortable, because in the beginning, I wanted to be a perfectionist. I wanted to get everything right. And that cost me a lot of time and money. So you're not a lawyer. You don't need to be. You just need to find a way to make connections with people. So that's the only difference in probate. You just don't run as fast, and you let them do a whole lot more talking than you do. And if you can put that together and progress with every phone call, by the 5th or 6th phone call, you should be getting to a price and a contract. That's it.
Now, let's say we do get the contract. The process would have to be approved by the judge, correct?
Who's telling you that?
Oh, no, nobody's telling me. I assume they would have to sign off.
So back up. Tell me the 2 words you just said to me.
Approved.
No, you said, I'm
Process.
assuming. You can't do that in wholesaling.
Okay.
You just, guys, your assumptions of what people think they know on the internet, some crazy video like, hey, give me 10 grand and I'll show you how to do this. You're assuming they know everything. They don't. So a lot of people have this crazy notion that all probates, now they have to be signed off by a judge. Do you understand what the court's role is in a probate? What their ultimate role is?
To make sure that the assets are divvied up fully to the
and they want to make sure they go to the correct authorized people. That's it. The amount of assets, it's not up to the judge. The judge has no bearing on value unless it's some crazy probate deal and it's court ordered by some sort of, maybe there was some sort of crime or something committed. It would have to be crazy. But the only time I've ever been questioned by a judge was a house we were buying super cheap because the whole house was beyond trash. And all he ever asked me for, he goes, can you give me a detailed contractors to make sure this is for real? It was low. It was like 30 grand. I gave it to him. He's like, once he saw the first 2 pictures, he's like, that's fine. He just wants to make sure the executor, the PR agrees to it, and that's the right person. And then the buyer is the right person, and they're going to pay for it. That's it. That's the only. So many people like, oh, we got to get an appraisal. We got to get a BPI. It's all like fear mongering. It's BS. Selling a property is a free market, is up to the free market. If a seller wants to sell and a buyer wants to pay, they set the price, they agree it, you take it to the probate court, and they just confirm, do we have a legitimate offer? Do we have legitimate buyers? When's this going down? And that's all it is. So very, very rarely, unless there's a huge conflict. Now, the only time this does come up, if there's like 25 heirs and there's no will, you don't really have a choice other than get like an appraisal or something, because everybody cries about the value on it. So that's it. Like, stop making the assumptions. So to avoid the assumptions, whatever state you're doing it to, go to the state website and look up the probate court, and they will tell you the exact process and how it works. And once you study that, then talk to your title company and verify it with them. And then if you have access to a real estate attorney, that would be your third stop on. So guys, I'm not a lawyer. I know very little. I understand legal. I just don't understand the mechanics, and that's what you pay a lawyer for. And honestly, I don't trust most lawyers. They've taken so much money from me. It's like, and half the time they're wrong, and 50% of the time, they're proven in court wrong. So it just comes down like they're like a guide. So if I'm the guide of wholesaling, they're the guide of legal. But here's the deal: is I don't charge you $400 or $500 an hour to figure out how to do this. So it's kind of funny. And, it's so funny with lawyers. They're like, oh, it's $450 an hour. I'm like, well, get it done in an hour and a half. Like, I don't give a crap. That's the crazy part, is you can't monitor how many hours they work, and that's where to me, it gets a little scammy with lawyers. It's $450 an hour. I go, well, how many hours is it going to take? I don't know, 5 or 10. Which is it? Is it 5 or 10? And every lawyer I work with, I'm like, give me a flat fee, because I'm not playing this game. Like, unless you have a pending like court deal. So it makes sense with probates. You just got to go slower, and you got to make them feel comfortable. Be aware of it, and understanding there's only so much you can do. But I love probates. I think everyone should do it. So just go slow and let them talk 80% of the time, and you should be in good shape.